Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Bugsy Benjamin back at it with another video, another hit. How you guys doing? I got my setup here today. I had to get a new camera. Got a new microphone. Hopefully the audio is coming out nice. Instead of recording my videos outside, out in the heat or out in the freezing cold like it is, it's probably minus 20 today, and ice and snow. I'm gonna be doing my videos, live streams, whatever have you. I'm gonna be doing here in the basement, in the bunker, at undisclosed location. So, this is gonna be the spot. This is where I sleep. It's my old bed. I need to upgrade my bed and get a nice queen bed with a headboard and footboard, and I got a new thing coming, a new neon LED light coming to put above my bed in the background here. So that should be coming in the next day or two. So that's gonna be a nice addition to the scene, to what you guys see in the background, rather than just me being outside and camera up like this, and I'm walking and there's shit going past me and ambulance and sirens. At least now, here, if I do these streams from my computer, quiet, easy, kind of mellow, gives you guys something to look at and study. I know you guys are probably going to study all my backgrounds and the different things I got going on in this room. But yeah, this is a nice change for me. Hoping to do this more consistently, ideally every day. I want to make this into a habit. It's just been a little difficult for me with work and other things working out, outside life, outside of YouTube. Although I do spend a lot of time on YouTube, kind of consuming information and watching videos and learning new topics, and kind of seeing how the world is changing and progressing. I just don't put out a lot of information. You gotta do, you gotta manage. It's one or two. Either you're consuming a lot of information, but you're not giving back, or you're giving a lot of information, but then at the same time, you're not spending that time to consume and learn and see how things are changing, rather than just talking and giving your opinions, giving your thought. But I think it's a good balance to have both. It's YouTube it's a good tool. It really, we're blessed in this day and age to have a tool like YouTube, where we can pretty much learn and become a master of anything and of many. But yeah, I'm hoping to put out more videos on a more consistent basis. And I keep saying hope. This is what I'm gonna be doing. I kind of already have the basis for my YouTube channel set. I've already got a couple, 2-3 videos put out. My last live stream that I did, I'm in competition with who I was yesterday, which is going to be the topic for today's video. Audio came out terribly, so hopefully when I play this back, it's not as worse. Also, there's a couple of pieces that I kind of wanted to condense and make a little bit more poignant. But yeah. So on the topic of I'm in competition, on the topic of competition in general, we're all here in this earth to compete. That's the name of the game. That's the rule number one. We're all here to compete for resources, and that's every animal, every living thing, every cell that's here on this planet is here to compete for resources, to propagate their genes, and to live as long as possible. I guess that's the whole purpose of life. Now, on that topic, with competition, yes, we naturally compete with others. We compete with other humans for resources, jobs, money. We compete for attention. We compete for energy. We compete for time. We compete in we compete in many different domains. But one area where I feel most people don't really think about competition is competition with themselves and in bettering themselves. and having a baseline of themselves in a past year or prior decade to compare to where they are today. And then them looking back, like, oh, when I was 25, where did I see myself when I was 35? And here at the age of 35, am I doing the things? Have I achieved some of those goals that I set out 10 years ago? In all different areas and aspects of my life. So that's what I mean being in competition. Now, obviously, everyone has their own baseline of performance. Some of us are more experienced, some of us less experienced. Some of us haven't put the work in different areas of our lives, especially health and body wise, and cognitively too, in your mentals and your brain. A lot of us didn't put the work in when we were younger, myself included. So now we're essentially playing catch up here in our 20s, 30s, and getting into our 40s. Now we're trying to get ahead of the game, get ahead of the ball. Me personally, I'm trying to get ahead of the financials. The last 5 or 10 years of my life haven't been so financially liberating. Definitely made my fair share of financial mistakes, but learning from that, looking to build up on that, and start to build up my net worth consistently into my 30s and into my 40s, and minimizing those major mistakes. Like, honestly, a big one is women and cohabitating in relationships and dating and all the like. I've taken a step back from that. I don't really date. I haven't been on a real date in like 10 years. I just came out of a long term relationship, 4 or 5 years. Had a son out of it. To be quite honest with you, putting myself back in that same position, seeking another relationship, cohabitating again, going down that line of marriage, possibly having children, it's only going to torpedo my financial goals. And that's one thing that I've cemented in myself to make sure that I don't compromise on that goal. My financial goals will not be compromised. No way, no wow. No will, no way, no how. There's not one person that will make me change my way of living and my goals, and no one's gonna change my trajectory. Put it that way. No woman, no man, no employer, nobody. My trajectory is my trajectory for the next 5 to 10 years. One key pillar of that is my financial trajectory. I've let people in the past, I've let family, friends, girlfriends get me off of my trajectory, get me off of my path. No longer do I tolerate that. Haven't for quite some years now. And that's a major hard line for me. Social media. I used to be against social media, to my discredit and to my own chagrin. I used to hate social media. I'm still not really fond of it, but it is a necessity. So, I guess YouTube, for lack of a better term, is considered social media. I've kind of eased my way into that. I've delved into the social media gang. I'm comfortable with myself on camera. I'm comfortable watching myself being played back. So, that's a major hurdle for a lot of people, just seeing themselves on the computer, just seeing themselves, on a screen, or hearing themselves, or hearing a phone call. Like, I've worked in corporate environments and call center and, taking phone calls, inbound, outbound collections. So I'm used to hearing myself, having my calls played back, and in coaching sessions with different managers. So nothing new to me. But social media, I'm trying, to start getting into the social media game. I'm gonna, you know, get my feet wet and start to build up my social media presence slowly but surely. Everything's just a slow work in progress. But on that topic of progress, not everyone's progress is going to be the same, obviously, because we're all starting from different starting points. Some people have different levels of education, different people have different body structures, different people have different educational backgrounds, people have different, money habits. People have, based on their family, if their family was wealthy and they had a good starting, a good footing, a good foundation, a good financial foundation. There's some others that are way ahead financially compared to others who didn't have that foundation from their family, and now they have to play catch up. Like myself, I didn't have that foundation as a family, so I'm studying playing catch up financially and learning all the things that I didn't get taught. But I don't harp on that aspect. Not that I don't harp on the idea that I wasn't taught these things. I harp on the idea that it's my job to go seek out the knowledge, to go learn, and to better myself. It's not someone else's job to tell me or to teach me. It's my job to seek that knowledge to better myself. And that's kind of the way that I approach it or view it. So, keeping in mind being in competition with who you were yesterday, you want to think about the decisions you've made. Think about the conversations you've had with the people yesterday. Strangers, colleagues, students. I guess colleagues, students. What do you call it? Classmates. Think about the conversations. Think about the way you made that person feel. Think about your presence. So, that's on an energy aspect. And then, on a financial aspect, how did you spend your money? Did you learn about ways to increase your income? Did you learn about ways to grow your assets? Did you learn one or two tidbits, new things about money and economics or finance that you didn't know yesterday? Did you stick to your budget? Did you stick to your daily, weekly? Did you stick to your monthly budget? Did you splurge? Did you invest the money that you said you were going to invest? Did you pay off your credit cards that you said you were going to pay off? Did you pay your electricity bill? Did you pay your taxes? These little things. So think about little decisions you make day in and day out, and honestly sit with yourself and say, did I make that decision with the best information, and did I make that decision in my best interest? Not just emotionally, but holistically. Did I make the best decision holistically for my health, for my for my sanity, for my brain, for for everything, for my relationships, for my finances? You need to really sit with yourself and think about, how are you going to better your decisions? Even if you're making progress in your decisions day in and day out, you're setting the right habits, you're waking up on time, you're not drinking, you're not smoking, you're not going on endless dates with different women, you're sticking to your work, you're learning new things, you got study, you're reading, you're doing all the right things. Then there's ways to even build upon that. So now you can fine tune all the different activities you do out through the day. You can fine tune the activities that you don't do, and you can segment that and figure out what's the most productive use of those activities during the 24 hours of my day. Do I get the best sleep when it's 7 hours or 8.5? Am I most productive, and do I soak in most knowledge while reading maybe an hour or two a day, or do I need to be spending 3, 4, 5 hours as a whole, when you add it up through the day? Do I need to spend a large portion of my day reading or studying to kind of retain that knowledge and to grow and to gain that competitive advantage against my colleagues? And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. There's endless knowledge about really any industry, whether you're blue collar, electricians, plumbers, framers, floor, like there's endless information about how you can specialize and grow and build your specific occupation or your specific task, your artistry. You know, the outside environment's always changing, so you should always be changing and adapting. And how you work and, the kind of service and product you deliver to your clients, that should always be evolving. That should never stagnate. So that's the way I approach it, but I always compare myself with who I was yesterday in terms of my performance, my conversations, my presence. Was I present in the moment and in the conversation? Did I have the right intentions? Did I say the right things? Did I communicate in a congruent, in a way that's in alignment with how I truly feel? So that's kind of, couple tidbits of knowledge. Hopefully you guys got your notebooks and pens and you're writing this shit down, because these are some bars of knowledge, bro. Getting these lessons, some bars of lessons. And these are kinds of things, as you build upon the micro decisions of your life, it builds quiet confidence. It builds your confidence up slowly and quietly. One thing that how do we word this? One thing that's built up my confidence, my ability to just not give a fuck is semen retention. Not watching porn, not being sucked into the vices of women and breasts, tits, and ass, and you guys know. Being a man, obviously, you can never really turn off your sex drive, but being able to control your sex drive and channel it into a different method or a different area of work, that's very important for me, and it allows me to be creative too. They say when you don't release, you naturally tend to become more creative as that energy starts to divert in different areas of your life. So that's one thing. If you're looking to build your confidence up, if you don't think you're as confident as you could be or should be, for the men, talking to the men out there, practice semen retention. Don't watch porn. Stay away from the alcohol. Alcohol is a big one. Alcohol will destroy your confidence, especially if you drink, consistently on a, day-to-day, week, consistent basis over time, months, years. It's going to destroy your body. It's going to just destroy your health. And, by cofactor, it's going to destroy your confidence as well. So honestly, I've cut back on alcohol. I think I've mentioned this in previous videos, but I don't even drink alcohol anymore. I don't even crave it. It's not something that's appealing to me. Even just the smell of beer, just, I can't do it anymore. And I think I've trained my body to, not want and to deter those things that damage me from the inside out. And alcohol is definitely one of those things. It's the vices. At the end of the day, I say we know the right things to do. It's not about knowing. It's not about knowledge anymore. The knowledge is already on YouTube. We can learn the knowledge, the methods, the content, the whole world is on YouTube. You can learn and become anything just due to YouTube, but it's about the actions and the daily decisions that you make. And I think that's what separates us from one another. It's the decisions that we make, the micro decisions that we make minute after minute, hour after hour, day after day, year after year. And those decisions accumulate and become who we become over time. And that's why, this concept of being in competition with who you were yesterday I think it's more powerful than just being in competition in the general sense, or being in competition with your peer group. Because being in competition with yourself, can nobody judge that? Only you can judge that. And you don't have to divulge any information. Like, it starts with you and it ends with you. And the outcomes of your life will speak for itself, will show for others. You don't even need to talk. You don't even need to sell yourself. The way you live, your habits, your you know your body sells itself. You know, on the topic of physicality and your body and taking care of your health, obviously exercise. Do you have a consistent routine of exercise? If you can't get to the gym every day and get the barbells and the dips and the tough work, do you have something you can do at home on a consistent basis? It can even be like, for me, I don't really do many weights. I have a bit of weights, but I do calisthenics. 80% of my workout, 75% of my workout's calisthenics, and then probably another 15 to 20% aerobic, and then another, it's probably over 10%, sorry, over 100% now, but the other aspect, weightlifting. But the majority of my work is calisthenics, and that, helps me build my aerobic plus functional strength, my body strength. Also, eating is a big aspect. What you choose to put in your body, how you treat your body tends to show in other areas of your life. And that starts with what you eat and what you put in your body. People, you eat the processed junk shit food, all the, extra carbs, extra sugar, extra fats, hydrogenated, like all that bullshit. It's going to destroy your health. It's going to destroy your brain, and it's going to destroy your aura. It's going to destroy your confidence over time, because you won't be smart as you could be, you won't be as strong physically as you can be, and you won't be as healthy as you physically can be, because you're not treating your body right. Therefore, your body isn't going to give you back the favor. Knowledge, taking care of your brain, taking care of your brain neurons, your brain cells. Keep working your brain, keep reading, keep learning new tasks. I don't need to harp on that. You guys know life is here. Life is for learning. We're here to learn. That's the whole point of life, is to learn, grow, and adapt to the external environment. And on that, build up on different skills, cooking, communication skills, writing, expressing, speed reading, the skill of thinking and applying concepts and coming up with strategies and frameworks, which are basically a combination of concepts that create a structure, a framework, a repeatable structure framework that can give us desired outcomes. These are all skills that you build over time. Just sitting with yourself and thinking and strategizing, projecting, seeing yourself into the future, thinking about what you want out of life and what are the steps and actions you need to do to get to that goal. What's the trajectory that you got to be on to achieve so-and-so goal by so-and-so time. There's always got to be a time. Goals always have to be associated with the time, a certain fixed date and time in the future. And then you harpen that back to today. Almost like calculating the time value of money, interest rates. You look at how far, if I'm giving you $100 today, and you're going to keep this $100 for 5 years, over that 5 years, what is the value of that lost $100 that I'm giving you? And that's what I get paid in interest. So, the same concept applies when you set goals. I'm investing my time here, $100 today, to be at so-and-so place in 5 years. What are the interest payments that I need to make over that 5-year term to get to my goal in year 5? And then how do I get ahead of that? How do I get ahead of the trajectory and compound, building up? Like I say, every day is a daily win. Building up your daily wins. Every day is a small daily win that you can compound for the next day. Compounding days, compounding wins. That's kind of how I go about and live my life. Finances as well. Not all of us are rich. Even if you are rich, we're all bound by a budget. There's always a finite amount of dollars that we have to work with, whether we're investing and allocating capital or whether we're managing a budget and minimizing expenses and hopefully increasing our revenues. finance is a big portion, of our life, resources and managing our resources, and our time, how we exchange time for money. Those are key things to try to improve over time. Um, I'm gonna get to the finances more in another video. We can talk about. I know for those of you that are gonna see this video and that ask me about my knowledge and about finances and stocks and economics and businesses and corporations and all that bullshit, that'll be in future videos. We'll delve deep into that. But this is just gonna be, a surface level, just the general understanding. Sticking to your budget, making sure you got your assets, minimizing your liabilities. Figuring out a way to live to maximize your standard of living within your income bracket is essentially what you need to do. And part of having a high standard of living is having margin. The difference between what you make and what you spend, especially a large portion of that your mandatory expenses. You want to have that as small as possible in comparison to your income, and that's what we call margin. The bigger your margin, the bigger your freedom, and that lightness follows through with the rest of the aspects of your life. It follows through in your health. It shows in your health and how you're stress free. It shows in having the money to buy good nutritious food. It shows up in your relationships and how you treat and build your relationships. Your relationships are compounding as well. Everything that you do to improve, to make the other person feel heard, understood. Every little conversation you have that teaches the other person a bit about something they didn't know, or something about yourself, or something about their own selves that they didn't know. Every little thing that you do, either, there's an analogy. It says treat things as if it's a jar, and every action, every circumstance you find yourself in, you're either investing in that person, you're putting $1 in that jar, or you're taking money out. The interactions you're having are slowly destroying and decaying your relationships with people. So obviously the key is to put more money into the jar than you're taking out. Obviously sometimes it's necessary to take out money from the jar, depending on the circumstance and who it is that's in your life and what you're dealing with. But in general, and the way you want to think of your relationships, the way I think of relationships with others and building that and compounding is, habits and ways and decisions that put money into the jar and that contribute to successful relationships. Another aspect of that is discipline as well. To be able to sit with yourself and have an honest reflection about your own actions, where you stand in life, taking into account, just take an inventory of where you are in this current day and age, February 2026. No matter what your age is, just taking an inventory of where you are, and then sit with yourself and let your imagination see itself in 5 or 10 years. And whatever that picture, whatever that story looks like, as you start to think about these things and as you start to impute that image of where you want to be in 10 years, naturally your brain's going to start to do and think of ways to get there. Think of the actions. It's going to make the right decisions to slowly get to where you want to be in years' time. But discipline is probably the hardest. It's the hardest thing to action in this whole competition with oneself. The whole point is discipline. The idea of being in competition with yourself is the idea of actioning discipline. The discipline of doing the right thing and the discipline of being self-honest. Doing the right thing consistently, day in and day out. And I don't mean, doing the right thing such as, not stealing, not raising your voice, not hitting, not fighting. Those are those are obvious no's. But when I talk about the right decisions, I'm talking about minute, micro decisions. Like, did you eat the right meal? Did you choose the right foods? Did you not spend $200 at Aritzia that you didn't have to spend? Or the extra $500 at Costco for the big jar of whey protein that you're not going to finish, or the 6 bags of milk that you're going to throw out in a week and a half. It's the micro decisions that add up. Did you approach a difficult conversation from an honest point of view? Did you communicate the way you truly felt? Did you say what you wanted to say? These are all just small decisions that add up. Did you put in the exercise? Did you get your 5,000 steps in for the day? No. Did you pay your electricity bill versus buying a new handbag? It all comes down to micro decisions, making the right micro decisions day in and day out. Did you spend your 30 minutes of reading on finance like you said you were going to do? Did you finish the book? Did you read the 20 pages of the book? Did you read a chapter a day like you promised yourself you were going to do? Did you record that YouTube video? Did you start the YouTube channel that you said you were going to do? Did you call your father and have that difficult conversation that you said you were going to do, that you've been putting off for a month or 2 or 3 or 5 years? Did you call your brother? Did you call your sibling? Did you call your sister? Did you try to mend a difficult a relationship that you may have burned the bridges on? Did you go back and attempt to build that foundation, to attempt to try to see if you can build that bridge back again? Did you try to extend your arm out to see if that's something that you could have built upon? Or are you holding on to relationships that you should be cutting off? Are you keeping bridges up that are clearly crumbling and that want to crumble, and that it's costing you more and more and more energy, time, investment, it's spirituality, it's decaying your whole being to maintain and to have this relationship? Those relationships you should be cutting and destroying and let decay. So, it's really about understanding yourself, identifying as close to the truths as you can, understanding what you know is good for you, and sticking with that, and identifying the opposite, things that, people that are in your life that detract from you, people that are in your life that seek to gain but don't seek to contribute. Those are people that you got to cut off. Contributors, you keep. Contributors, you keep. Those are there for a good time. Those that are there for the party. Those that shy away from difficult conversations or difficult circumstances or make excuses. Those are people you cut out. And then other things too, like, what did you do better today that you did not as good yesterday? Did I speak to my family in a better way? Did I surprise someone? Did I surprise someone where they least expected it? Did I build up on my vocabulary? Did I learn a new fact? Did you cook a meal better? Did you learn something different about your ingredients that you didn't know yesterday? So daily improvements, setting your baseline, setting your goal. I don't even know what I'm even fucking talking about at this point, but I'm sure you guys understand the concept of competition and understanding the difference between competition of self, competition of others, and the competition of nature, the competition of this world that we live in. You know, there's reasons why we have organizations and structures and institutions that manage competition. Too much competition, no one wins. Not enough competition, no one wins. And then the compounding effect. You know, as you build up on your skills and make the right decisions day in and day out, you see the effects and the outcomes of your life start to compound and build. You see, if you take care of your body, you take care of your health, you become more cut, you start to build on muscle, your heart starts to function more efficiently, your brain starts to have faster reaction times, it starts to be able to come up with words and knowledge and you educe from within. Your mouth, your oral health starts to become a lot more healthier. No gingivitis. You reduce bad breath. Your body just starts to treat you the way you treat it. Compounding is key. Just like your money compounds, so does everything else in your life. Become the compounding king of your life. Yesterday is the baseline. Today we raise that standard. Tomorrow we look for a new trajectory. We see what the trajectory points to tomorrow. And you can make that apply to really any part of your life. Any part of your life can be viewed in this lens, can be viewed in this circumstance. And as you grow and as you progress and as you compound, you don't see the daily wins. The daily wins that stack up, they're not physically visible. They're not visible successors. It's only when you look back 6, 12, 18 months and compare yourself where then you start to notice the compounding effects start to build and how you start to grow. And I'm just now seeing this in my mid 30s. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. Like, how long has this video been? 37 minutes. I'll use this video to replace the other video. I'm in competition with who I was yesterday, since the audio in that video was trash, and hopefully the audio in this video is a lot more clear. You guys hear me rambling, all my different tangents on and off topic, but that's what it is. This is long, unscripted, free-form speaking from a variety of different topics. I don't like to write down things. I don't like to have an agenda. I don't usually typically come with an agenda to really any conversation or circumstance. And even at work, even when dealing with insurance, I don't come with an agenda. Not that I don't care, but I'm indifferent to the circumstance, and I'm indifferent to the outcome, because I already have my own trajectories and goals that are in place, whether or not this context works out. So I'll leave you guys with that for now. I'll be back on here tomorrow. We'll see what the topic of conversation will be. We'll see. But this was nice. This was fun. A nice change. Hopefully when I play this back, again, the audio, I'm harping on the audio. Hopefully it sounds great. And we build up on this YouTube channel and build up on this success. Just like compounding. Anyways, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow evening after work. And take care of yourselves. Peace.